Hello, Mitch Free here, IMTS 2022 at the Creators Lounge. Hashtag we are all creators. And I'm excited to be sitting here having a conversation with John McCullough. And John is from Kubotek3D. That may be a new name to a lot of people. It's a new brand out there. It's kind of we'll talk about that in just a second. John, welcome.
Thank you very much, Mitch. It's great to be here.
Yeah. So talk to me a little. You're like a CAD industry veteran, dare I say?
Well, I'm feeling more and more like one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been around for a few different CAD companies.
Okay.
You and I met many years ago in the CAD Key days.
We did.
I've been at Onshape and now at Kubotek3D.
Yeah. So let's talk about that for a second. You mentioned the word CAD Key. That's probably there's a lot of people that still remember that, and there's a lot that don't even know what it is. But talk about CAD Key for a second and the innovation that it was.
So, at this show, Mitch, always we get people that are old users that come by the booth.
Old users, not old.
Both.
Okay.
But so, they're very excited about this product that was originally released in 1984. Wow. And, we were reflecting on that today with a customer about how this product CAD Key that was originally a DOS-based CAD system was the first 3D modeling system that was available on the PC.
Yeah.
And it really, in my opinion, it was a killer app for the PC. It brought the PC into manufacturing.
It was the first 3D CAD app on a PC.
Right. And so, we had a lot of excited customers that, built a whole community around that product that exists today still.
Yeah.
So that product is now called Key Creator, and it's from Kubotek.
Right.
So we have many, users of that continuing today. We've modernized it, obviously. It's been on Windows for a long time.
Yeah. Good. Well, we got a lot of ground to cover here. One of the things they want us to do here is not just talk about product, but also to tell stories and things that are interesting about people like yourself. So we're going to back up a little bit and how the heck did you get into the CAD world? I mean, were you like in high school? Said, oh my God, I want to do CAD.
Actually, yes. My technical. There was a technical drawing program at my high school, and the teacher that was running that was the department head. He applied for a grant.
And were you doing like manual drafting by that?
That's where it started, but he applied for a grant to get some CAD computers. This was in the mid 80s.
Okay.
And so we're one of the first high schools in my state to have that kind of equipment. And I saw that as an opportunity. I signed up immediately for that. And I actually even did an independent study using those CAD machines. And at the time it was passing floppy disks back and forth. There was no hard drive. It was,
and that was 2D.
Really, it was just 2D, but I made a full set of working drawings when I was in high school on CAD.
Nice.
And I remember someone saying to me at the time, are you going to do this for a career? And I never thought of it until another student asked me that question. And it turns out the answer was absolutely.
Well, at that point, you're like, wait a minute, is it a career?
Right. But it was exciting to be able to be working on computers and doing something that was, mechanically interesting. Yeah. And I learned a lot in those days. Kept it going through college. And eventually, before I was even out of college, I was working for Bob Bean at a company that was building add-ons.
Well-known innovator in the CAD space.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, Bob gave me my first break.
That he gave me mine too. So we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Sure.
We owe a lot to Bob Bean. Have you moved the microphone a little closer there? Yeah. And okay, so you went to college. Thought you would do this as a career. Then how did your first CAD experience was?
Well, I think I was using it. I had an internship at Pratt & Whitney in East Hartford. And I was using UG there. And they were, I was doing 3D modeling when most of them were like, how do you run this?
Yeah.
And so I did a lot of work instructions for assembling manifolds and things like that. So that was really the first time I used it commercially.
Yeah. So and then you ended up going to work for CAD Key Bay State.
Right.
Back in a long time ago.
Right. So I traveled a lot across the U.S. and Canada supporting resellers. To those years. So it was fun to meet a lot of customers. We did a lot of travel back then. Yeah.
But I mean, from the perspective of CAD software, I'll let you put it in your words, but I think, that product over time, it changed names and changed hands. It's gone from CAD Key to Key Creator. And is that still the name? What the Cosmos stuff is?
Yeah. So I mean, the Key Creator brand has been around for 20 years. We're gonna stick with that.
Stick with that. So Key Creator though is so different than any other CAD software on the market. If you look at SolidWorks, UG, everything that's out there, it's so different. And I'll let you talk about what that is.
So we call the approach that Key Creator uses direct modeling. There's a lot of other ways to describe it, history free,
Yeah.
But so we don't record any of the steps that are taken to build a model, which is the standard strategy of most other CAD software for design
which
purposes.
are pure parametric modelers.
Exactly. So they're recording each step so that they can replay it. And if you know where your model is going to go and you know the kind of variations that you can expect, that's a brilliant strategy, because then you can adjust those parameters and get the changes you might need. But if you don't know where you're going, if your customer is driving your whole process and you have to react to what they send you, it can be difficult to adjust those parameters. And sometimes you have to just start over again when the customer sends a new input to your process. So direct modeling is a good strategy for that, where we can more quickly adapt to whatever comes in and pull apart the model if we need to, tear part off, make some new surfaces, stitch it all back together, and you've got a model.
Yeah.
So,
full disclosure, I'm a customer. I love it. And what I love is the flexibility to switch between solids and wireframes and surfaces, and the interactivity that I can create a surface and then just hit the trim button and trim the solid to the surface and then split it by a line.
Right.
And so when you're, doing tool design or anything like that, or even machining and trying to just get to a feature and isolate a feature, really, really powerful. There's nothing else like it.
Yeah. So, at these shows, it's always interesting how many people that, they'll stop and they'll see this and they'll say, that looks so fast. What, how are you doing that? And, explain that because we don't have to try to record things, we don't have to be as procedural about what we do. And I still have to, really, it's a constant education process for people to understand, so when you're done with that whole process, sometimes people call it a hack and a whack. Yeah. Do you have a poor quality model? And the answer is absolutely not. We're just storing the geometry. Yeah. And so as long as those definitions are cleaned up and you've got the, your new surfaces are trimmed correctly, when you stitch it back together, you've got a perfect body. Yeah. No one would ever know the origin of that.
So given that your demographic, or not your demographic, your target market is probably, how would you define the people that, if you were looking at your customer base?
I think it's just even gravitated over time more and more towards tooling guys, mold design, die design. Most of our customers, the core, are in manufacturing. Yeah. So it's less on the design side and more the kind of design needs that shops have.
That's what I would think. It leans, if you're running a shop, you're doing machining, mold making, tool design, jigs and fixtures, it's an incredible tool but there's other tools out there, SolidWorks, all these parametric based modelers that are awesome if you're designing products and you're managing BOMs and everything that goes along with that. But when you want just incredible flexibility, I think that's where Key Creator works.
Yeah, so this is a perspective that a lot of users have, that, from you see the usability of these software packages, you see that. But, a lot of times bigger organizations also are thinking about, we have to manage this data. And so on the design side, they've got a CAD system that's their system of record. They've got a PLM system that's connected to that, and they have to process all this data in a same kind of format. A lot of times the Key Creator customers are outside of that. Yeah. They're specialists that work in, build to print manufacturing. Yeah. And they don't need to keep all those records. Yeah, they build the tool, and that's that. Yeah. So
one more thing about Key Creator that I want to move on to. There's so much I want to cover here. Yeah. But it plays with everybody. Like you could read CATIA files, NX files.
Right.
You can input and output most anything.
That's a very good point, Mitch. That being focused on the geometry like Key Creator is, that geometry is the neutral language across all CAD software. So anything that comes into Key Creator, we wouldn't know if we had built that in Key Creator or if it was built somewhere else. Once it's in, it's geometry and it's equal. So the whole approach allows for data to flow in from anywhere.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Enough raving about Key Creator. Let's talk about this kind of adding Cosmos to the name and some new products.
Yeah, so the thing that Kubotek is focused on over the last, this takes a long time to build the kind of technology we've been working on. I think it got started around 2008. So we started building our own geometric modeling engine. and with a different goal than some of the other geometric modeling toolkits that are on the market now.
So a lot of the CAD software, they're just based on a ASUS platform or a Parasolid.
Right. So those are the two primary ones. Parasolid's owned by Siemens, and then ASUS is owned by Spatial. Yeah. And under the hood of most CAD CAM software is one of those two. There's a few other.
So that's like an engine, and then they're putting an interface on top of it.
Right. Well, it's a math library. Yeah. So when we're doing Boolean modeling, you're intersecting two things, and there's complicated faces that are touching each other, and we need to be able to subtract one off the other. There's a lot of math behind it, and you need a lot of sophisticated libraries. There's PhD guys writing this stuff. Yeah. And
by the way, you're in marketing, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
You're the most technical marketer I think I've run across.
I've been around a lot of faces of this,
Okay, all right, keep going. Tell us about this.
So, right now we've been building this tool that we had in mind to approach a different problem. We wanted to, basically build an interoperability. That's a tough word. Yeah. An engine that would handle that aspect instead of just another, modeling kernel that would be great for a design package. The market already has several of those. We architected this system so that we could take in data from anybody and respect their, proprietary formats. So the way that a product like CATIA that's from Dassault, they have unique algorithms in their system that are going to express certain surface types that are complicated in a way that's going to, they're going to store the data matching their algorithm strategies, right? And then another team is going to find a different solution and have a slightly different format. And we realize we can't take their data and change it as it comes into our system. We're doing a lot of high fidelity comparison between the data. So our new engine is really designed to have multiple entity types as needed to represent everyone's data as fairly as we can. Yeah.
Good. Okay, good. So now what are the new products?
So we've built a couple of utility products on top of that we really are focused on build-to-print manufacturing, receiving a 3D CAD model as the definition from the customer of this is what you have to build me. Here's a precise definition, and making sure that that data is moving through their process correctly. Okay. So we've got two products that are in our K-Compare line, and that one of them is required by some North American aerospace manufacturers of their suppliers as they translate the data that's been sent to them. And, for example, it's Boeing. They know that manufacturers are going to need to get that data into metrology systems and NC systems that aren't necessarily based on the same databases they're using to design the plane. So as that moves between databases, a tool is needed like ours to check to make sure that geometry came through precisely, that nothing fell out. Yeah. And, obviously software being what it is. Yeah. This stuff gets complicated.
I think people don't think about that, but you start translating files, you lose fidelity.
Right.
You lose accuracy.
Yeah. And so, we want to make sure, in a process, you want to do that as little as you have to. Right. But there's obviously need to have specialized users using the specialized software. Right. Not everything can be done in one database.
So in this product, you're comparing the native model to the translated model, and then highlighting any differences.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. And so generally we actually, usually it works fine. And so we're writing a report.
Usually it works fine.
Yeah. We're writing out a report for them so that if the auditors come in, they can show like, yep, we checked every one of these. Here's all our records. Yeah. And it's the one case out of 1,000 that goes wrong that could have caused a really big, disaster.
It's a big. I know. My business. We're an AS 9100 aerospace shop, and we get files from customers and from in CATIA format and other formats, and we have to translate them to get them into our CAD software, et cetera. Yeah. But we have to prove to their auditors that we're not losing fidelity. And that's where we use your products to make sure that as we translate it to STEP, that it's the same as the original model.
Exactly. So that's one of the applications for the compare tools, right? Yeah. That just making sure that the translations are correct. And that's the most obvious one. The second one is a little bit harder to explain to people, that there's issues when a revision comes in. So you've based all your processes around that one 3D model that, okay, great, this is what I'm going to build. And now a new version comes in. Yeah. And we have to be really careful at that point. Mistakes can get made here. Yes. And the first is that new model, let's double check to make sure where exactly are all the differences. Sometimes the team that sent you that model didn't remember to document some of the changes they made. And their processes are complicated. It could be that they had, made a change, a month before.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of new changes came in, and that one from earlier, they forgot to tell you about. So that's the kind of stuff that the comparison tool can check for and highlight. And so we build reports based off of the differences. We automate that process as much as we can. It's like we basically baked in like a PowerPoint style interface into this CAD utility tool so that we can generate these reports and give people the kind of CAD interaction that they're used to while they're building their report. Without just having to do simple screen grabs and jam them into a PowerPoint. We can automate so that you can still rotate your model on your slides and get exactly the view you need and add some annotations there to explain what's going on.
I think, any shop that's been doing it for a while has run into that problem. You're making a part for a customer, or you're making the prototypes and it transitions to production. And they say, oh yeah, we revved this from Rev B to Rev C. Or 1 to 2, whatever, and they put a little title block thing or a legend up in the upper right corner that says, "Here's what we changed." But there's not always, but there are times where there's things they changed they didn't tell you, and I know we've been bit by that multiple times.
Yeah,
we had one earlier this year where they changed a slot to a hole. Well, we still cut the slot because we didn't think we needed to change our CNC program because nothing was done over there, right? And that's what got me interested and why I went out and I found and bought the compare products because I didn't want to have that happen again. So now we just instituted a process that when a customer says it's a rev change, we're just automatically verifying what they told us,
right?
And without a doubt, that's going to pay for itself.
Absolutely. So a lot of cases too, it's not the model that's actually the standard, the specification. If the customer sends you a drawing, that's, often what they say, that's what you have to build to. But they also provide a model because that's what you want to use for your NC programming is to build it off that model. So you'd need to double check the model pretty carefully to make sure that what you're sending to your NC guys is going to match that drawing that the customer's going to hold you to.
Because ideally, we don't want to redo the whole CNC program. We just want to fix whatever the revision is on.
Right.
So we're still going to cut all the old stuff if they didn't tell us it changed.
Right. Yeah. So I've been describing that as really it's a communications improvement tool. Yeah. That you build this report and it shows everybody. You can send this back to your customer to say, okay, this is what I understand is what you sent me as these revisions. Let's double check to make sure you meant all 5 of these changes.
Yeah.
And also then you can send it on to your inspection guys. If they may see something there, they realize we're going to have to refixture this now. And they might not have seen it if you didn't make it clear enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. All right. So being in marketing, you got these incredible tools. This is not, it's a simple story, but it's not a simple story. How are you telling this to the world that this exists? Everybody knows the problem exists, and that you have a solution for it.
That's a tricky one. So, obviously, we started out the customers that are using most of our compare technology, they're required by their customer, to use that. And, they've recognized often they're the best, users right now of the revision checking tool. It's often used most by the people who already knew our validation tool. Yeah. Because they know us for one, but they get this comparison stuff and, we're able to reach them. But yeah, it's been a trick to figure out how to get people to recognize process change. Typically we've been selling CAD for so long. Yeah. Everyone knows you need that. You're trying to design something that you'd be crazy to be doing that on paper today, But so this tool is something that people need to, recognize, hey, these risks that I'm taking, these models coming in and I'm making assumptions about, oh, I get it. I see where the changes are with my eyes. There's little tiny changes sometimes. The pocket is, reduced, depth by 5/1000ths. You're not going to see that with your eye. Even if you load that in your CAM system, you can easily miss changes like that. Yeah. So we want people to recognize it's important to recognize this process step as an addition to mitigate the risk. Right. And especially if they've got expensive parts. I stopped and looked at a part yesterday, $500,000. It's one part. You don't want to make any mistakes. No. Anything you can do to reduce the probability of a problem, do it. And so there's a lot of, hopefully people at the show are learning all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And you know, a lot of the CAM software also has a feature that once you do the simulation and the rendering, that you can then save that out as a different, you know, an STL file or a step file, different formats.
Right.
So you can also import that in and compare it against the perfect model, and to make sure that you machined every feature, that you didn't miss something.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff. So our technology, this base engine that we've built, we can handle all those data forms. Often, if there's systems that can't output surface models, they can output points. We'll use that to check against the original customer CAD model. Yeah. So we've got that, you know, one side's a precise definition in some cases. Sure. Sometimes the other side's an STL or it's point cloud.
Yeah. So you also got a viewing product as well, right? A viewer?
Yeah, so that, you know, there's derivative products like the viewer, there's, you know, conversion tools. I mean, obviously this engine that can, you know, read anything, can write step files very easily. We're starting to write more CAD file formats as well.
And so are you going to make this proprietary engine open to others?
Well, yeah, we've already started licensing it. And actually, so we had introduced this Kubotek Cosmos modeling kernel to IMTS of 2018. So it was 4 years ago we were here and launched Kubotek Cosmos 3D framework. And since over those 4 years, we've had quite a few successes. We've built our own utilities that we've been talking about here on those. We've got the viewers and the compare tools. And then we had a customer, Lambda Corporation, Lambda Research Corporation. They make a product for optical engineering. So Lambda needed to be able to read in CAD models from any kind of CAD system, typically pretty high-end stuff. Often it was CATIA and NX. And then they're modeling light energy in their package. They're not doing 3D modeling of objects, right? So when they model that stuff, they need 1 million light rays. Then they're going to bounce that off of the 3D CAD model and calculate which direction is the light bouncing, how is it refracting. They've got, you know, high-level engineering that they do, and specialized people that needed to process loads and loads of calculations, and our system was the fastest they could find.
So you guys built a couple of applications on the toolkit in order to showcase what's possible. But you're looking for the myriad of other applications that could license this toolkit. Right.
This show's been great. We've had a lot of people coming by that, you know, all different stuff, you know, people doing a job, you know, process sheets, they're doing quality reporting, all different people downstream from that original CAD design specialize in different areas, and they need high-end tools to be able to process this CAD accurately. So, and then also, so there's the design users like that Lambda. There's FEA type applications that we've been talking to people about. There's a lot of use for this.
So are you guys competing with ASUS and Parasolid?
In some cases we are. But, you know, so
that's good for the market to know that there's an alternative out there.
Yeah. So, but one of the things I make the point to you know, a lot of our customers, we still use the ASUS modeling engine as a core of the Key Creator product. And that a lot of that is because they provide us with some of the blending capabilities and some of the surface modeling. Some of their Boolean operators are, you know, it takes a long time to build that kind of technology. And we still rely on them completely in Key Creator for that type of stuff. But
so it's a co-opetition.
That's where we've ended up. So yeah, we've got a lot of different things that we're doing, and you know, we still count on them. And
friendly partnership.
I hope so.
That's great.
Yeah, they came by a couple days ago, and that's one of the great things about these shows too. Is, you know, we got a chance to meet with all those people.
Yeah, that's super. That's super. So we have to start wrapping it up here. They're letting me know that we're running out of time, which is unfortunate.
I agree.
Any other things you want to get in before we close it up?
Not that I can think of.
What's your booth number?
Oh, it's 133145. Actually, there's one more thing that we could talk about. We've built a sample application that we brought to the show today, and we've gotten a lot of attention from it. We have an integration with a VR headset.
Oh, nice.
And, you know, it's caught a lot of young people. They see that and they're like, oh, wait, I have one of those at home. It's just a simple Oculus that we brought. But so, you know, we were just trying to demonstrate that we can build, you know, applications quickly that are lightweight applications that can work on different platforms. And tons of people have been telling us, this looks really interesting. We need this for building operation, you know, instructions and training people on different, how to use a machine.
People can just use with this toolkit. They can just use their creativity for tons of applications.
Yes,
it'd be exciting to see what people come up with.
So it's been fun because people are here with their kids. The parents are walking through, and I've seen a couple of situations like that where the parents are like, "Oh, all this time you've been putting in on that Oculus, maybe it'll someday be
something productive."
Benefit.
Right. Oh, that's great. All right, we're going to wrap it up here. John, thanks for being with me today. It's been a lot of fun. I wish we had more time because you and I got a lot more we could talk about.
Well, let's have a beer, Mitch, and we'll go do that.
We'll do it.
All right.
Mitch Free signing off here live from IMTS 2022. Follow the hashtag We Are All Creators.